Hello, guys. It should be live. Today we're going to be watching the AST earnings report. If you're watching this as a video in the future, skip to about an hour in because it's currently 4 o'clock and the earnings call will be at 5 o'clock. And that we'll go over the earnings call. I'm going to look over the price. The price has been up all day, up 10% right now near closing, which is absolutely great to see, especially after the rough month, not month really. It's been since like kind of start of January. It's been having a rough slope down. It hit that all-time high of 130, and it formed a weird pattern, which is similar to where it was around here in November at 50 before it shot back up to 130. So I'm expecting big things here today, and I will go over some of the main news that I'm seeing. And today was a super big PR day. Same thing with Starlink, which is the biggest competitor. Obviously, a lot of news coming out of there as well, in which we saw in the past a company like Starlink always creates pressure for ASTS when they know that there is issues on their own end and when they are not able to match the level of productivity and stuff like that. So by when I'm looking at this very um uh I'm looking at this very clearly, and I will go through all my thoughts based on what we've seen today. There's been a lot of news coming out, so I'll go over each of them. We'll look at the price. We'll look at the earnings report as soon as it comes out. And yeah, let me just get one thing set up on my end. I appreciate you guys for hanging out, though. Um, Let me get this here. I hope you guys are having a good day. If there's any stocks you want me to look at as well while we wait, I will definitely do that as well. But other than that, let me go through some of the key points I am seeing today. And as we know, stock is up nearly 10% today. Absolutely massive day, but that is not the only thing. And there's a lot of crucial takeaways that we're going to be going through from today. And the first one I want to see is the orange partners with AST SpaceMobile. Absolutely massive deal, and I think people are underestimating how big of a deal this really is, because this is a major tier one operator, which is now validating AST SpaceMobile, and they have, where was it, I think it's 270 million active subscribers subscribed on their monthly services. So this is important because Orange is one of Europe's largest telecom operators, and this is a top tier type of deal that you want to be seeing, and this comes at a very good time with earnings report today. We also saw, where was it, the Romania, that they're focusing on the Romanian market, which they will demo in the second half of 2026. So for them to be able to demo this in the second half of 2026, a couple things really need to be true, and that is that the ASTS needs to start having full broadband capabilities and not just emergency texting, which will obviously require more satellites, which I think that they are on schedule to provide us with. And this will cover things like voice, SMS, mobile data, which is obviously the big next step that the stock is looking for inside the next coming weeks, especially that with what we've been waiting for over the last coming months is getting these satellites up in the air. And that is what has been holding the stock behind a little bit. But I think all the key partnerships, all these things don't really happen unless you have the technology ready and you are able to produce it at scale. So that is where I think that people are not catching on. And I think that this will be the major year for AST SpaceMobile's price. I said it in a previous video. I'm expecting the stock to hit $250 by the end of the year. We are currently sitting at $86 a share, down a little bit after hours. Let me check. Did the earnings report? Sometimes it drops right away. Let me see here. I don't think it released. It probably didn't yet. Fourth quarter results. Yeah, so the results are not out yet. As soon as they are released, though, I will be right there on it. I hope you guys are having a good day, though. So far, I think they changed the website from what it used to be, so it's a little bit more confusing. But other than that, so let's go back into the Orange agreement. As I was saying, this satellite connect Europe, it just sounds like a mesh of words. And then I researched it more. this is structured specifically to serve European mobile network operators. So this agreement basically includes compliance already enabled with European security regulations, potential integration into Orange's core network, and a focus on complementing their terrestrial coverage and not replacing it, which is obviously a big thing. And this strengthens ASTS's position as a Europe aligned infrastructure partner, especially as we saw the news coming out today with Ukraine, that big deal that came out, and now the stock is up. So I'm not too worried at all about the stock price movement. I think, let me check. I forget. I think it was the last earnings. I forget. It was at um, it was when it was at. I can't even remember. It had to be like 60 at the time, or yeah, it had to be 60. And then the day of, it didn't really move. And then the next day, ASTS earnings implied move. Let me check here on my screen. I'll pull it up for you guys. An employed move of 16%. It already moved 10% up, and now it's up another 1%. So that is definitely a possibility here. We can see with this stock, anything's really possible. I've always been surprised with myself. I remember when I first invested at $10 a share, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a long-term hold. I'm just going to set it and kind of forget it, keep investing as much as I can into it. And every month it kind of stacked up for me. And then it shot off right before I could really get as many shares as I wanted. So the stock, if you guys were not there for it, it shot up to 10 for a little bit because of the AT&T news and all, and then it just blew up, and then it went to 39. It held up for a year, pretty much doing not too much, and now it's been pretty much up all the time. And I think that this is still just the start for a company like this, especially as they continue to implement these deep telecommunication level tiers. And I think that this matters, especially this type of deal we saw today with Orange matters, especially because this expands their footprint into Europe more, and it reinforces the direct-to-device broadband. So not just texting. This is what Starlink is behind on. Starlink still thinks that we're just doing texting in 2026. We're going to have a lot more than that coming with ASTS, and only with ASTS. All right. And next thing on the list that came out today, Telefonica and Satellite Connect Europe. This is a similar type of news, but this exploration centers on countries like Spain and Germany, and these are two of Europe's largest telecom markets. I have hey bro, back again for another earnings. Yes sir. Yeah, drop your guys' comments. I'll be reading the chat. I have it on my screen right here. I'll be reading your guys' comments. Anything you guys want to say. Did you leverage any call options for the earnings call? I do have a couple of call options on it. I saw the puts were very cheap, and I definitely disagree with that. I don't think the stock will go down, at least definitely not too much. Especially, I think if I counted correctly, there was 6 different good PRs that came out today, and that alone should be an indicator that we are going to be in for a good earnings call. And I am very excited to see the report and see what is going on. 10,000 shares, but management is a scam, can't meet a single promise, getting annoying. I understand where you are coming from. The big thing has been the satellites, and they have lagged a little bit behind, but I don't think that it is anything to be too worried about. You got to think this is a company doing something for the first time ever in history. This is a absolutely revolutionary idea, absolutely revolutionary technology, and it's the first of its kind to the market. And I think that is what differentiates it from other people, other companies. And I think that they are working their best. It's also super hard with companies like SpaceX, that their launch pads don't work half the time. Blue Origin is just starting to get up and ready. So once everything is moving stably, I do see a lot of upside here. Hey man, thanks for doing this. Oh, thank you for joining the chat. Puts were cheap. I don't think any of the options were puts. I saw the 90 price, the 90p options were super cheap. Those are the ones I was looking at earlier in the week. But that is kind of where I'm at with that. So here we can see Orange and as I was saying, the Telefonica. This is another just big market. So with Orange and this partnership combined, that adds almost 600 million subscribers instantly. both with the Satellite Connect Europe, which means it's already implemented into the Europe regulations, and it is not something that they are going to work hard to get on and ready. So this suggests a growing consolidation around one European direct-to-device architecture, and Starlink is just getting pushed out of the European market completely as of right now. I understand, but why would Abel keep putting this launch every 45 days? He has one launch in 530 days. There was a launch in India a couple weeks ago. It was only one satellite, but the cadence will definitely pick up, and I do believe inside the timeline, they have the parts, they have the cash on hand, and 45 to 60 by end of 2026. I think that 45 is definitely a possible number for the company to see by the end of the year. For me, 45 satellites is basically already on point for what they are doing, and they will just have to ramp up. The launch in February is a little bit delayed, but I still do believe inside the cadence, and I do believe inside the stock. I don't think the earnings report has come out yet. As soon as it does, I will put it up. I will go over it and all. But first things first, we saw the Taiwan Mobile and AST signed the low Earth orbit satellite communication service strategies, which is this sounds very confusing. What Taiwan chooses to PR today as well, and the website was all inside of a little bit of a subscripted language, but this basically shows they signed a strategic cooperation memorandum for low Earth orbit satellite communication. So this cooperation by them is designed to strengthen their connectivity in areas where the terrestrial is weak, and this is basically going to be a big thing because this collaboration with the global satellites and telecom ecosystem, AST SpaceMobile satellite network already involves partnerships and strategic investments from many major players. And I think that this is a broad industry that is going to accelerate quickly over the next coming years. So it's always a delay. Lol, last comment. Good luck to us. Well, best of luck, my friend. Thank you for dropping a couple comments down in the chat. And then another news that came out today was the CK Hutchinson Group partner with Satellite Connect Europe. This is one that I didn't even know existed, really, if I'm being honest, before today, and that just goes to show how big of a market this really is and how much this has been underscored. So they are partnering with Satellite Connect Europe to deploy direct-to-device satellite connection in countries like Denmark, Italy, Sweden. This immediately boosts their position in Europe, and I think that they are the main player in Europe. Starlink doesn't really have any type of footing in Europe, and ASTS is on a brand new level at this level. At this point in time, I think that this alone should bring the stock, with the amount of subscribers that are coming out of the European market. I did a calculation. I'm pretty sure it should be about 800 million subscribers, and each paying $3 a share. That should just get you a crazy multiple that is very undervalued compared to where we are right now. $87 as we are closing right now. And here we can see another big thing. ASTS finally got some PR on Twitter. Usually it's hard to get these guys to do anything on the Twitter account, but this is a good news for us. And the AT&T news on was also good with the CEO was at the Mobile World Congress, and he spoke on ASTS, and I'll leave it here for you guys
earlier,
to listen to. I thought it was very good.
The new frontier for this industry, in particular direct to device. That's the headline these days. It's, of course, it's not the indoor play that we were talking about earlier, but how do you see it evolving? And are you leading into it inside your broader the connectivity mix that you have in your convergence play?
Look, I think it's going to be one of those great moments of innovation for the consumer, for businesses, and for the industry. And it is clearly going to open up some uncharted territory, as Margarita talked about, that we're all going to have to work our way through. But I think the promise of it is just so amazing. We should all be thinking about how do we bring that promise to our customers. And I can think of no group of companies that are probably better positioned to figure out how to do that than the ones that already have significant relationships with our customers. And so the race is on now. to be the best at running a hybrid network, to bring that next layer of connectivity in and do it in a way where the customer doesn't even have to think about it. And I think that's what's incumbent upon all of us to innovate. So I think that's kind of the next play, at least in the United States. We're seeing very, very robust intermodal competition. When we start talking about doing things like integrating in satellite, who's going to be the best at taking hybrid networks, bringing them together, and actually bringing them as one to the customer under one simple plan that they can ultimately buy and understand what they're getting, consistent, ubiquitous connectivity with reliability and trust. Whoever does that the best ultimately will probably do well on the markets. And maybe,
as we can hear there, whoever is able to do that will do well in the markets, and you will not believe I got the company that is doing that. AST SpaceMobile, currently at $87 a share, up after hours, but I don't think the press release has come out yet. Let me close a couple tabs now. We've pretty much, oh yeah, this was another graphic I wanted to show you guys. The updated graphic, which shows Europe is pretty much locked down by ASTS, and then America as well, AT&T, Verizon, Bell in Canada. I mean, these are absolutely huge partnerships, over 3 billion active customers just based on these partnerships alone. And I think that this has a lot of potential still going into the next year as well as the next coming year. So the website is not doing great, I don't think, because of the amount of people refreshing it, trying to get the news. I'll get it as soon as it comes out on my end, and I will have it on the screen for you guys here. Let me get this a little bit better. And I'll also put a little bit so that during the call you guys can see the price. I will have that there as well. I will be looking at to try to find this earnings report as soon as it comes out for us here. I think I've pretty much gone over everything today. As I wanted to say, this quarter is not a make or break for the company at all. I think that the partnerships we saw today, the news we see today, is just reaffirming what we already kind of know, and that this is really the future of connectivity, especially inside of the European market. We see this has a strong hold. American market as well. The only company really holding back has been T-Mobile, but I am not too worried at all. They will definitely switch over once they realize that this stock and this company alone is able to really change the digital landscape as a whole and really change the applications of smartphone use all over the world. So as we can see here, the stock is still pretty much flat now after hours. So I'm waiting for the earnings report. I'm going to continue to refresh to try to find this earnings report as soon as it comes out, so we could be the first ones on it. Let me also get this little thing here so I can show you guys the price on the side. While the call will be going on, there will be the price as well, which I think I like seeing it at least. I don't know. Some people don't like seeing it. Isn't Verizon with ASTS? I got some Verizon. Yes, sir. Verizon is with ASTS, and they have been very bullish as well on the stock, and that is a great indicator inside of my opinion that this stock will do great in the next coming years. I mean, it is backed by all the big mobile carriers across the world right now, and I think that it is in a very strong position, and I'm excited to hear this earnings report because I think that it will be definitely a big one. So there we go. We got the price up there. So I will have it on there as well as for now we'll have it here. While we continue to wait for this earnings report to drop, it still has not come out, but we are ready as ever. So as soon as it comes out, I'll go over it. I'll go over the key facts. We'll see what we can get out of it. So I'm very excited. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have 8,000 shares going into the earnings, and this has been one of those holds where I'm always, whenever it got to 130, everyone was telling me to sell. Whenever it pumps up, everyone tells me to sell, but I just can't help myself. I can't do it because of how much I believe in this company, how much I trust the management, and how much the stock has rewarded me already over the last couple of years. And I really do think that this is the future of connectivity, and it is really just solving a basic problem that is pretty much universal. Everyone has this issue. If you guys have ever gone hiking, if you guys have ever been on a plane, I mean, anywhere really, there's remote zones probably right outside your house, a couple miles down. So this is absolutely a big market, and I think that this is something that you don't know how much it is worth until you finally have it and you realize, wow, this is absolutely a game changer. Because until there's that proof of use, it's hard to tell how much this will really benefit people. But I think that this is an absolute game changer, and I'm very excited to see the earnings report today. I saw Archer just reported their earnings. I see it on my screen here. I am not able to find ASTS's earnings just yet, but as soon as it comes out, as I was telling you guys, I will be on it. The stock, no, it didn't move. I was about to say, I think it just released the earnings, but it did not. The stock is still not moving yet, but we are going to continue to wait here. I got everything. All I got is time. That's all I got. So, this is the main thing I'm going to be doing today, is just watching this earnings report. I'll give you guys my thoughts, not during the call, after the call though. I will have a notepad on my screen right here. I usually keep a notepad here, and then I have my main screen here. And I will give you guys all my thoughts. I'll give you guys the main takeaways and where I see my price target moving for the end of the year. Because I was saying, I think 250 is a very realistic end of year price target, and I will walk you guys exactly through how that happens, how this is a possibility, and why this is still very early for a company of this level and that is trying to complete something as big as this. I mean, this is still very early for a company like this. I know people always say, I wish I got in 5 years ago. I mean, I wish I got in at $2 as well. But I think that this is still a great opportunity, and people will look back and think, man, I wish I bought more at these levels. So still waiting for the earnings report. Keep looking here. Press releases not coming out just yet. Let me see. Yeah, nothing yet. Yep, nothing. So we gotta keep on waiting. I will be. Someone said I'm in class right now. I feel that I just got out of school, and I literally drove to home, driving 70 all the way down the highway, just to get home, just to watch this, just to get to this call and be able to listen to this call, because this is going to be absolutely crucial. So this is right now still flat, but obviously earnings is about to come out. We got 40 minutes until the call starts in general, and besides that, we are still going to be waiting here a couple more seconds. Waiting here. I'm very excited though, as if you guys cannot tell. Arish, you talk like you think this is an easy feat. Just be patient. I said the exact same thing pretty much to him, and I think a lot of people have gotten impatient, but that is what even Warren Buffett says it in the past. The money is made in the markets by people moving money from people who are patient enough to hold for a long time and believe in a company, have that conviction, to people, to the people that are not able to have that conviction and able to be patient. If you're able to be patient, and through all the wars, all the other stupid stuff going on in the world, all the bad stuff, you keep holding, you keep believing in what you believe in, you will do well in the stock market. At least that's my personal experience, and I that's what I preach to everyone pretty much, because that is what has done well. So can't lie, I got a little gamble in for Khan's 115 calls expiring March 6th, just in case. Hey, that could work. I'm not too sure. Earnings about as on time as the launch schedule. All right, that I'll give you that. That's a pretty good joke, but they still have any time before 5. So usually it comes out at 4:20, but we haven't seen it yet. We'll see a big move in the stock price as soon as it drops, because they have those hedge funds now that just instantly scan the document and find out everything. So the thing they are building was never done before. I would rather have delays than rush things. I agree completely. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime company, and this is as we've said, disruptive tech. This is a disruptive tech company with massive clients and a massive backlog, and I think a lot of people are waiting here. waiting here for this big news, big days. So coming ahead. So my cost is $43 a share and didn't sell at 128. So patient I am. Yeah, me too. I mean, I watched it at 130. I was refreshing Mumu when it was at 130, and I didn't even think to sell really. This is really the easiest hold for me in my entire portfolio. This is the easiest stock I get to hold. Obviously, our average is only in the 20s, but I still do think that the upside from here is it's hard to even be able to comprehend, and I'm excited to see this earnings report because it will be an absolute game changer. You could tell they didn't get the most expensive website here because they're pretty much crashing on the earnings day. No one's able to get in here, but I have FinViz up and I have a lot of other things up, so I will be seeing this earnings report as soon as it comes out. So right now we're just watching the price. Still it's pretty much flat right now. I'm not expecting earnings. I'm hoping for explanation of the billion raise and when the satellites will be up. Um, yeah, of course we're not expecting big earnings coming out here, but I think that the $1 billion raise will be crucial in developing these strategic opportunities, especially across the European market. And my cost average 46 since building a position at 20, never sold a share. See that's an absolute trooper. Average is 4, still haven't sold. That is even more of a trooper. I need to be inside of a chat room with you trying to get these. Oh, the stock's moving. No, or is it moving? Let's see. I can't tell. I'm trying to find this real quick. No, it hasn't come out yet. I thought it just came out. It moved a little bit, but then it just went right back up. It's still flat. I have sold calls on this, so I'm not really bullish, but hey, good to have both sides in your chat. Yeah, I agree. I'm always open to people being negative on a stock. I'm always open to people being positive on a stock. That's how we learn the most, being able to discuss all this stuff. So, and I'd love to say that anything on the Sats over Midnight Hammer, Maduro, and now they were over Iran. Yeah, I did see that on news as well, but I'm not too worried at all about that in particular. I'm still not seeing a move at all. I keep refreshing. I'm trying to find this as quickly as possible for us. So as soon as it comes out, I will be on top of it, guys. So let's just wait a couple more minutes. I'm expecting it to drop any second now. Pretty much it should, I think, at this point. It's 4:25. The call starts at 5, so it can't be that much longer. Let me get this up. Hopefully they have the presentation as well this year, because usually they have in the press release a presentation, which I like to look through while the call is going on, and that is usually a good indicator of different things. I'm seeing people saying they crushed earnings. I cannot find it yet though. Let me see. Keep looking here. Yeah, I can't find it yet. I will let you know as soon as I do, though. Yeah, stock is still kind of not moving. Where are we here? Stock's not moving. Someone said they crushed the earnings. I don't know if they're lying to me, though. I don't think they would lie to me. That wouldn't be right. I see someone just spammed it into the chat over on this other side I have. It's hard to imagine the ceiling with this company. So much potential. I agree completely. The market here is pretty much limitless, and Starlink is obviously going to be a part of this business industry, and I think that it's a perfect room for a duopoly. But the better tech will definitely win out. And if you guys know anything about ASTS, if you guys have done your research, if you guys have been reading all the Reddits, all the stuff, you know that this tech is the best on the market, and that this is really the only option if you're really looking at it from a strategic standpoint. And that is why we're seeing all these partnerships across Europe that came out today, and why we see big companies like Verizon, AT&T having their trust in it. So there was a lot of lying for Nvidia since they were delayed 30 minutes last week. Yeah, I did see that. That is probably true. Um, People are getting too antsy. That's the problem. People don't know what's going on. Everyone wants to know what's going on. Um, Huge beat. No, it's yeah, no. Someone said it's a huge beat inside this chat I'm looking at, but I don't think it was, because no one knows yet. I'm still refreshing every page I can, trying to get this earnings report as soon as possible. By 30, I'm gonna be expecting it to be there though. I'm gonna be pretty upset. Let's see here. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Nothing. All right. We gotta wait a little bit longer, I guess. Just a little bit longer. That's not a problem. If you've been here for a while, we've been waiting. We've already been waiting for a long time, so I'm not too worried about this stock. If you bought it at the absolute all-time high of 130, I still think you're gonna do well here. So that's kind of the sentiment I'm holding here. As a European, the sentiment towards Musk is poor. I personally think he does great things. However, there's a big appetite for an alternative to Starlink. I have heard that a lot as well. I have a friend over in Ireland, and he was telling me that people there absolutely hate Elon Musk, and that like Teslas get burned down there every week. And obviously, I'm not advocating for that by any means. I think he does great things. I think SpaceX is a good invention and everything, but I think that the competition is really going to be made by who has the better technology, and that is ASTS at this point. So the stock is down a little bit after hours now. Let's get that there. Down less than, not even 1% though. So are you still holding your 900K position? How did you know I was still holding, man? Of course I'm still holding. It would be hard for me to sell. I was talking about it earlier, where I don't see a way I could sell all my shares here unless something absolutely catastrophically went wrong. And I'm talking like a satellite fell out of space and hit someone's house. So we thinking earnings got make it go to the moon. I think there's definitely good potential. I mean, this is definitely a big earnings report, and it is the mark of the big change. Uh, Going into this year is going to be a big indicator of how fast they're going to progress, how they see the launch cadence going out. And I think that this is it's fun in games until it's not fun in games. You know, it's that type of thing. So once this starts to ramp up, it will be absolutely massive. Stock is moving a little. No, it's not actually. I thought it moved down, but it didn't move at all. Still nothing. Still waiting. Um, any second now. Abel can't have anything on time. I mean, Abel's been good to me. I don't know about you guys personally, when you guys invested in the stock or what you guys believe, but I do think that Abel is a good CEO. He hasn't sold a single share. He does this out of the good in his heart, and he wants to really change the world. And that is what you want to look for in companies when it is CEO led and CEO majority owned. And that is exactly what we see with ASTS. And going into this earnings call, I'm not worried at all. This has been one of the easiest holds I've had. Even when I almost like put most of my money into it when it was at $10 a share, I had a lot of confidence inside the management. And if you guys have done your research, you know what you guys are holding. You guys know what is going on, and you guys shouldn't be too worried about this earnings call, regardless of if you go up or down. But I do think that we are going to be going up here. So let's see when the earnings come out. Less than 30 minutes until the call. 30 minutes until the call, and someone said they crushed the numbers, but the stock is down. Where is this? Am I not seeing it? No. Okay, let me check here. 100 agree with you on Abel. It's easy to hold my position when he's exactly. Dude sleeping on the floor. Exactly. That is not a joke, by the way. Like there's pictures of him like on the floor. I saw online, and then the other one was inside the promotional video. You could see him next to the rocket loading it up. He's really a great CEO, and he really does want to change the world. And I think that is a good mission to be behind here. So he's working nonstop. Exactly. And someone said earnings reports out. It is not out though. I'm probably gonna keep getting trolled by that. Someone's gonna keep saying, "Oh, there it is." I think it's out now because the stock just dropped 2% really quick. Let's see here. No, not there. Okay. Where is this? Okay, ASTS SpaceMobile reported revenue of 70.9 million for the full year 2025, driven by mobile network operator partners and the US government. The company secured over 1.2 billion dollars in cash. Where I can't find the full report though. That is just an excerpt that is popping up here. Um any second now. I'll get it out right here. Um Let me find that there. There we go. Finally. Okay, there we go. So reported revenue, as I was saying, $71 million for the full year. Secured over $1.2 billion in aggregate contracted revenue commitments from partners. That is an absolutely massive development we're seeing here. I thought it said 1.2 billion in cash, and I was gonna say obviously it's due to the dilution that we saw, but contracted revenue is an absolute big jump. Yeah, that was an algorithmic dump. Um, that is not anything special. Just an algo dump on the earnings per share miss. Won't last at all. Once people actually read the earnings report and look at this closely, they will see that this is not something that you should be selling at least anytime soon. So here we could see I was saying the $1.2 billion, absolutely massive in contracted revenue commitments for partners. That is absolutely insane for a company that doesn't even have the product fully out yet. For them to have this level of trust and commitment and want for the, you can just tell how big the need and want is for this product, and alone should be enough for you to be wanting to be holding here. So successfully completing unfolding of Bluebird 6, we saw the largest commercial communications array developed, deployed in low orbit. We saw that it unfolded, but is it fully tested yet? I would want to see that it was tested. This is just excerpt about the company. Still on reach to expected with additional launches expected every 1 to 2 months on average to reach the goal of 45 to 60 satellites by end of 2026. That is absolutely big news. People were saying that they are going to be behind on this, and as we can see here, they are not behind by any means. They are on track just in time to get everything on the road, and that is absolutely massive. So here we can see the product revenue underpinned by delivery of 15 gateways across 5 continents, service revenue across multiple contracts and use cases under development with the U.S. government. That is a very big good thing we saw. We saw recently the $30 million in contract that they got from the government. I think we're going to see more and more government contracts coming here soon. Revenue expected to grow during 2026 ahead of commercial service activation, supported by backlog of mobile network operator partner revenue and U.S. government contract milestones. People are going to overlook this, but the U.S. government application is what is going to really do this right here. And as they continue to launch, they're still expecting this 45 to 60 satellites by end of 2026, which is an absolutely huge development. It's about as expected. Happy with this. I'm happy with this so far based on what I'm reading. Still not done. Oh man. Where does it say that? I wish they said that whether the Bluebird 6 they said it unfolded, but I wish they showed the testing exceeded 120 MPS. Great news. Let me see here. Successfully unfolding the largest. Yep. to greatly see. That is the thing with this satellite is expected to be way better. These new satellites are the best of the line. So Bluebird 8 to Bluebird 29 are in various stages of production and expect to complete assembly of 40 satellites by first half of 2026. That is absolutely massive news here, and that they are on track to get these satellites created and made and ready. So acquired a fourth site in Midland, Texas, the best town in the world for dedicated Micron production, increasing total manufacturing to soon over 500,000 globally. Big news there. As we said earlier, secured $1.2 billion of aggregate contracted revenue commitments from commercial partners. That is big news to be seeing, and received 170 million commercial payments. That is from the Israeli group. Expanded commercial partnerships. Some big ones came out today, and I think that is why the stock has been up, and I still expect it to move higher. It's down a little bit after hours, not too crazy though, down 2.5%. Still very early. The call, usually during the call, a lot of things will change. So we will be watching the call closely. It should be starting in about 20 minutes here. So let's keep going over this, and then we'll hop right into that. So, brother, a launch every 2 months means 5 launches left, and Glenn can launch 8. They're not going to meet it. It said every 1 to 2 months. So it could be one in 30 days, one in 60 days. So that doesn't mean they're going to miss that forecast at all. Awarded 30 million prime contract award by Space Development. That was a big award we saw. Awarded prime contract position in the SHIELD program, another big government application, and I think that they are running a robust balance sheet with 3.9 billion in cash equivalents, restricted cash, and liquidity, pro forma for the convertible notes offering and availability under the ATM facility. This is absolutely massive. I'm gonna have to look at the balance sheet here in a second. I know that's probably the most boring part. Everyone just wants to look at the stock price. We could analyze charts all day. I have been learning technical analysis. But I don't think that it is going to be too crucial here. What really matters is what they are able to achieve and what they've been able to achieve so far this year, and that is a lot of things. And I think that this will really be the transition year where this starts to come to service, and we start to see the revenue ramp, and we start to see a big expansion. So, yeah, agree. Wait, it's a mixed bag. Could drop tomorrow as people digest it. As I was saying earlier, last time we saw big earnings, it dropped during the earnings call, and then the next day it was up 20%. So I think anything is possible. Agreed, the over-promising and over-committing with regards to the number of sats being launched is a problem. Yeah, I do agree on that. They have kind of done that over the last coming months, and I think that is why the stock is currently down. But I think that this is still something to watch, especially if you're patient enough to hold and you believe in the technology. Starlink is still behind over 2 years. If you look at the timelines, you look at the developments of the tech, Starlink is way behind. ASTS cannot blow this lead if they really try to even, and I think that the partnerships only enable them further, and I think that everyone is seeing that closely now. So we will see how the next launch with New Glenn will work out. Till then, your opinion has no value in my opinion. That's fair. I'm glad some people here are realistic. These guys launched 1 in 530 days. Now you expect to launch every month. I know it's tough to be. You want to try to be realistic. I get that, but I also do have a lot of trust in the management as of right now. Sorry, that's probably loud. I just got the earnings call up. Did they release a presentation as well? I like when they have the present. They don't have the presentation. All right, that's no problem. So as I was saying, fourth quarter revenue 54 million, and full year 70 million. Obviously, this isn't the greatest earnings report ever. It's definitely a mix of good things and bad things. But I think that with everything I'm looking at, I still am bullish on this stock, and I will continue to hold my shares for the rest of the year. There is no indicator of a reason to sell, especially with the robust balance sheet they currently have, and their partnerships that they've been able to acquire and everything going on. I don't see a reason why you would sell at this point. If you didn't sell earlier, there's definitely no point to sell now. If you didn't sell at 130, if you rode it from earlier to 130 and you didn't sell, then there's no reason to be selling now, especially with the way the company looks. I'll have to analyze the balance sheet during the call a little bit, but let's see. The call should be starting here in just a little bit. Um, Less than 15 minutes here. I'm trying to get the presentation up because I like looking at the presentation, but if I can't get it, that will be fine as well. Let's see here. I want to hear your guys' opinion though. Given the relationship with Blue Origin, why not be optimistic? I agree. Blue Origin is just coming into its footing. It is just starting to really expand, and I think that is something people have understated and don't really see yet. And if Glenn doesn't work out, you're talking about possibly only 5 sats being launched. Scary. I think they can always fall back on other launch providers. I think that this is not an end-all be-all, especially with the way the tech works. So the rocket had last time at a successful landing. No part of me thinks they get 6 sats a month up this year unless they have been sandbagging. It's hard to say. Obviously, they have overpromised in the past, but I would like to think that the management doesn't lie on this earnings report to us, especially with this is the main year we're going to start seeing big news coming, and I think today was a perfect indicator of why, because that was an absolutely big news day, and as we see, expected to greatly exceed the 120 millibytes per second peak data speeds. People are not understanding how insane that is. If you compare that to Starlink satellites, which are barely able to even hold a text conversation, this is absolutely insane. And I think you're investing really in the tech here. If you're investing in the tech, then you should not be worried at all. Despite the launch cadence, I know it's been rough. I know it might still be rough, but I think that this is undervalued given the opportunity. So next shipping says April, so launch in May at best. Get some of the past inclusion in the Nasdaq 100 will be big for us. Yeah, I agree. That is going to be big. This passive fund buying will be an absolute huge thing. Stock is currently down, not too much. I mean, for a stock that went up today, nearly 10%, being down a little bit over 2% is not too bad. And we're gonna see here the earnings report, the earnings call. I mean, 15 more minutes until the earnings call, so I'm not too worried at all where we're standing. So I agree with Frugal Investor. This year we will see how things turn out. Now they have their cards on the table. Exactly. They have the tech, they have the partnerships, everything's in line. Now they just need to execute on their promises, and it's really a matter of what we see. So I think that with the I'm looking at the after hours volume, it is not very crazy. So this is not something to be worried about if you're worried about the stock going down after hours. Not something to worry about at all. This is not an awful update based on what I've read, what I've looked at here. And if anything, I'm very excited to see that the testing greatly exceeded the 120 millibytes per second peak data speeds. That is something that we've wanted to see and get confirmed. So I think that this data rate is going to be game changer for the market, game changer for everything in general here. I'm trying to see if they have the presentation. I don't see it though. Investor presentation, maybe here. No, not there. Wait, is that it? No, that's the third quarter. Oh, that's useless. I didn't like their new website. I think they just got this new website. Coming soon, Bluebird 7 launch. I'm not a big fan of this new website at all, because I remember it used to be way simpler. I was talking about it earlier, though. I'll give you guys my price prediction at the end once the call is over at 5 o'clock. Not at 5 o'clock. The 5 o'clock, the call will start. I have it ready here. I'm ready for the call. They might do the presentation inside the call. Sometimes they do that. I still would like to have it up on my own, but worst comes to worst, we will just watch it through there. So I'm working hard to find it. Let me see here. So yeah, this is definitely a mix of different things we're seeing. A couple good things, a couple bad things, but overall, not a bad quarter by any means at all. The earnings, I think it's mainly down due to the earnings per share, and a lot of people, the algorithms just sell on that news alone, despite the stock still doing well. So I think that this is still in a great position to be, and I am not very worried at all. So we're waiting here for the call. I'm just going to leave it on this page now. I don't want to keep flipping between confusing you guys. So the stock closed at 86.92 just as a benchmark. And I'll have the price on Robinhood on the side here screen. Somewhere here. Yeah, it should be on the screen. And I'll look for the presentation for us. But in the meantime, I will just get this. I'll just leave this earnings here on the screen while I look for the presentation. We've gone over the earnings report. I told you guys for very much so mixed. The main things I really like is obviously they still have the goal of 45 to 60, the 120 millibytes per second peak speed, and the another thing that I really did like is the 1.2 billion of aggregated contracted revenue commitments from commercial partners, which is obviously massive for a company that is still worth under, I think it's like $30 billion market cap right now. So a company that is still growing and to already have pre-revenue this type of commitments is in my opinion a great indicator to have. Some of the main things we're going to have to watch though is obviously the launch cadence. Are they able to actually get these launches up and down the way? And that will really determine whether this stock performs well this year or not. But I still do have a lot of trust. I mean, it's hard for me to not have a lot of trust based on what we've seen and what the tech has done and what the management has communicated with us. And I'm very excited. I'm trying to find this presentation here for you guys. I cannot find it though if it's the last thing I do so far. Stock hasn't really moved. Let's see. Let me see how many people are in here. 60 people. Shout out to you guys. It's nice to see you guys in here. I hope you guys are having a good Monday. It's Monday, right? Yeah, it's Monday. I got out of school. I rushed home to see this. I had to be ready for this. So, what else can we find? Where is this presentation? The call should be starting in less than 10 minutes. I got it on the screen. I will unmute it once it's ready because I don't want to listen to the music that much. Look, it's not great. It's not great. I usually don't like listening to the music. I don't want to listen to the music too much right now. All I want to hear is a bell hop on the mic, say, "We're dropping 8 satellites tomorrow with Blue Origin," in his beautiful accent, and I will be very excited with that. That's all I really need to see. So that is all I need to see and hear. I think it might just be my loading speed here. Let's see. Because I should be having this. There you go. I'm trying to just find the presentation for you guys so I could go through it while the call is going on. The call should be starting though. Less than 10 minutes right now. I will unmute it as soon as it's 4:59. I don't want to listen to the music. I'll let you guys a sneak peek again. All right, guys. Let's see. Like, I don't think you guys want to be listening to that too much, and I know I don't. So I'll just leave it muted for now. Abel will take care of us. That's what I've said since $15 a share, and I still continue to believe that. Abel is playing those instruments live. You have to listen. You guys really think Abel's playing the instruments live? I mean, he is a pretty talented guy. I can't lie. He does do a lot of good things. How many bluebirds can go up at one time? Up to eight bluebirds at one time on the Blue Origin. And I think that is going to be the main vessel they are going to use. I think that was in the graphics I've seen. I'm trying to get this presentation up. Someone said there is a presentation, but I cannot find it as of right now. Maybe I'm just inside of a bad spot looking for it. Am I in the wrong spot? Any second now, guys. I will find this. Trust me, guys. I will find this because I need to have the presentation up. Do you guys actually think he's playing the music though right now? I could believe it. I could believe it. I definitely could believe that. That is a thing going on. Why am I struggling so hard to find this? Let me see here. One second, guys. I'm just trying to find the presentation for the stock. I will obviously have the quarter up, but more importantly, I do want to find the presentation. Oh, it's on the SEC website. Okay. I got you guys. Don't worry. Dan's coming to the rescue. Frugal investor. Let me see, is there a way I could send this to myself? SEC, ASTS, more. So I'm about to get it up for us here, the presentation. Because the presentation is one of the better parts, as always, to have that visual of the things going on. There we go. Finally. Way too complicated this year. Come on, Abel. I need that a little bit better. In the future. All right, 7 minutes away from the earnings call. I'm beyond excited. I don't know if I could even contain it, honestly, guys. The stock hasn't moved too much. This reminds me of last time when the stock moved down a little bit on the earnings report, and then we saw the next day the stock absolutely blew up, I think 20%. So I am very excited here, and I am going to be watching that very closely. And here we can see the stock is kind of, yeah, just not moving right now, but I'm not worried at all. Let's see, down 2.5%, not too crazy. I think a lot of algos just traded based on the previous indicators. We're still going to be listening to the call, so if you're here for the call, don't click off just yet, because I think that the call may be the time we get excited. Let me just get up, stretch a little bit. If you guys need to get a drink for yourself, get yourself a snack maybe. I just had some these sour gummy bears. Oh my god, I usually don't like sweets that much, but these were some of the best candies I've ever had, so I do recommend those to everyone that gets the chance. And here we can see less than 5 minutes, stock is pretty much back to stable, $85 a share. Still very bullish in my opinion, and no major drop. It would have happened by now. And we'll see the earnings call. The earnings call is really going to be important, but more important than that will also be the question and answer session, because in the question and answer session, we are expecting a lot of big things to be coming out of there, because the analysts are going to be asking the questions that we also have, and I think that some of the questions are very valid in this case, and I think that there's still a lot of potential. Any fly updates? I'm assuming you're talking about Firefly Aerospace. I'm still following it. I haven't been too in depth on it, and I will continue to do more research in the future on it. I just haven't had the time, really. It's been so busy with school. I got sick a couple weeks ago. I still do think the company has a lot of potential, though. I've talked about it in the past. So the earnings report should be coming here any second. I think it's still music. Yep, still music. So as soon as the music stops, Abel stops playing the drums, I'll unmute that for us and we'll start listening to it. Any minute now. It's 4:56 as I'm saying this, and if you want, I was saying grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink, because this is gonna be at least an hour usually. It's usually an hour to an hour and 15 for ASTS. They usually keep the questions pretty long, going on, and I'm very excited to be listening to this call, and I have the presentation up as well, so I am very excited about that. I'll be taking notes on the call on the side here on my monitor. So if you see me looking over here at the camera, kinda, then that is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the notes I'm writing down, and after the call ends, I will go over my notes. I'll go over my price prediction, all that good stuff. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Call starts here any second. Abel's still playing the violin, absolutely massive. That's still great. No one's done it before. No one has ever been able to play it so well. As a CEO, he's a CEO. He plays live orchestra music. I mean, what else do you guys want from this guy? Yeah, everyone's talking about, oh, the satellites this, the delays this. Come on, this guy's literally doing a live orchestra before his earnings call. He's conducting it. Nah, I'm just joking with you guys. I hope you guys are having a good Monday though so far. Any 15x potential 2026 top 6. I'm not too sure what that means. I'll assume you mean fly. I don't think it has 15x potential, at least in the near term future, if that's what you're asking. Earnings call here in probably less than a minute. I'll unmute it. I don't want to waste your guys' time. Still music. So as soon as the music ends, as soon as it's like you guys remember playing in school where it was like that game where they play the music and you like walk around some, I forget what is that game called, where you walk around the chairs and the music plays, and then when the music stops you got to sit down. Oh, musical chairs. I'm such an idiot sometimes. I'm such an idiot. We're playing musical chairs right now. We're waiting for this call, and this is gonna be a big call, I think. Happy Monday, you as well. All I want from Abel is a promise for no more stock offerings this year. With the amount of cash they have, as of right now, 3.9 billion in cash equivalents, and the recent contracted revenue, I do not see it happening, but we shall see. Less than a minute, guys, until the call starts. Very excited for this. This is a big quarter, and this is going to be a big year in general for ASTS, and this is absolutely something that I think a lot of people will be watching as this continues to expand. As I said, make sure you guys get snacks, get water. All right, let's go. Should be any second. It's 5 o'clock, so. I'll have it muted on your guys' end, but I have it unmuted, so as soon as I hear the lady talk, I will unmute it for you guys here. Musical satellites, exactly. That's what I was thinking of, obviously. It's like we're waiting for the music to stop. This is always the worst part of earnings calls, when you're just waiting for the music to stop. You're waiting for someone to hop on the mic, making some mint tea for the stream. Oh, that sounds pretty nice, actually. I do like myself some tea, I'm not going to lie. Tea is definitely something that I pride myself on, especially if you guys are able to get yourself some good honey, add that to the tea. Absolutely peak, nothing beats that. So any second now, we should start hearing someone talking behind that line. It's still music right now. They're kind of playing like orchestra music right now, so I know people getting in at 85 a share. Yup. I bought shares at 80 a couple days ago, so I'm not worried at all. As much as I can, I'm trying to buy of this stock, and that's kind of been my main message to people over the last couple months and years. And I think that this is still very early, despite the stock being higher than it was a year ago. It has a lot of room to grow. So Still music, guys. I know you guys don't believe me. It's already 5 o'clock, but it's still music. I promise. Um, any second now. Any second now, we'll see this call start, and I will unmute it. I think the music's actually about to end. It sounds like it's about to end, at least. I hope you guys are having a good day, though, guys. I'm just happy I hope you guys aren't affected by the wars or anything. I hope you guys are all safe at home, being able to watch the streams and able to uh, Bigelow Blackberry Citrus Tea. That sounds nice. Citrus tea. I think it's starting. I'll mute. Yep. No, it's not. You guys lied to me. Call is not on. The call is not on. I'm on the official website. Oh, there you go. Hello?
Good day, and thank you for standing by. Welcome to AST SpaceMobile's fourth quarter 2025 business update. Please be advised that today's call is being recorded. I will now turn the conference over to Max Colbert, Investor Relations Manager of AST SpaceMobile. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm also joined by Chairman and CEO Abel Avalon, President Scott Wisniewski, and CFO and Chief Legal Officer Andy Johnson. Let me refer you to slide 2 of the presentation, which contains our safe harbor disclaimer. During today's call, we may make certain forward-looking statements. These statements are based on current expectations and assumptions, and as a result, are subject to risks and uncertainties. Many factors could cause actual events to differ materially from the forward-looking statements on this call. For more information about these risks and uncertainties, please refer to the Risk Factors section of AST SpaceMobile's annual report on Form 10-K for the year ended December 31, 2025, with the Securities and Exchange Commission and other documents filed by AST SpaceMobile with the SEC from time to time. Also, after our initial remarks, we will be starting our Q&A section with questions submitted in advance by our shareholders.
For those of you who may be new to our company and mission, there are nearly 6 billion mobile phones in use today around the world, but many of us still experience gaps in coverage as we live, work, and travel. Additionally, there are billions of people without cellular broadband and who remain unconnected to the global economy. The markets we are pursuing at AST SpaceMobile are massive, and the problem we are solving is important and touches nearly all of us. In this backdrop, AST SpaceMobile is building the first and only global cellular broadband network in space to operate directly with everyday unmodified mobile devices, supported by our extensive IP and patent portfolio. It is now my pleasure to pass this over to Chairman and CEO Abel Avalon, who will go through our activities since our last public update.
Thank you, Scott. For the first time in 2025, AST SpaceMobile became a revenue-generating business as it significantly advanced all key aspects of our operations, including commercial, government, manufacturing, spectrum rights, IP portfolio, and capital position. The combination of these efforts resulted in the successful launch and unfolding of our next-generation BlueBird satellite, BlueBird 6, the largest ever commercial communication array deployed in low Earth orbit to enable the first and only global space cellular broadband network for government and commercial customers. On the financial front, during 2025, we raised over $3.5 billion in capital and reported revenue of over $70 million for the full year and signed over $1 billion of minimum committed revenue. Operationally, we plan to ramp our satellite manufacturing efforts and launch cadence this year while we're rapidly accelerating our government and commercial businesses. We entered 2026 with a strong momentum and clear vision as we led the space-based cellular broadband industry, a market that we invented. 2026 will be the year we scale our space-based direct-to-device constellation from initial commercial activation to start of commercial service, with mobile network operator partners in key markets like United States, Europe, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and other key strategic markets like the US government. In just over 1 year since the orbital launch of our first 5 Block 1 BlueBird satellites, we developed our Block 2 Bluebird program, which is roughly 3.5 times larger and 10 times the capacity of Bluebird 1 to 5, breaking our previous record on both size and capabilities, and then scale, test, launch, and successfully unfolded Bluebird 6, our next generation satellite of approximately 2,400 square feet. Bluebird 7, identical to Bluebird 6, is encapsulated and ready to launch within the next New Glenn launch vehicle at Cape Canaveral and is awaiting orbital launch, which is expected in March. Our upcoming launch advances, our deployment goals aboard New Glenn will feature a 7-meter fairing, enabling twice the payload volume of the 5-meter class commercial launch vehicles to support up to 8 of our largest ever Block 2 Bluebird satellites. We expect to fully utilize New Glenn fairing capacity as we progress through our orbital launch plans. We are especially excited to share this milestone with many of you who we hope will join us in Florida during our next launch. Looking ahead, we're expecting 2026 to be a very active year, particularly as we progress into second half. We remain on track to achieve our target of deploying 45 to 60 satellites into loaded orbit by the end of this year, with current expectations closer to 60 satellites ready to ship and 45 satellites in orbit. We continue to expect launches planned every 1 to 2 months on average, starting with our first New Glenn launch expected in March. The New Glenn launch vehicle is completing final readiness for our fully encapsulated satellite, which was handed off on February 18. Importantly, this launch will be the first New Glenn launch to use a previously flown first stage, which support our launch cadence during 2026. We expect the New Glenn booster to be reused every 30 days or less after our oncoming launch. Our launch plans include a total of 12 additional contracted launches across several launch vehicles. Lastly, we also recently signed an additional agreement to integrate our satellites with a new heavy launch vehicle to be on standby in their manifest. We are laser focused and working tirelessly on delivering our Micron, phase arrays, and full satellite production goals. On the manufacturing front, we continue to ramp our operations. We exited 2025 having reached a production capacity to support up to 6 satellites worth of Micron and phase array per month. And we expect to achieve a testing, assembly, and integration cadence of 6 satellites per month in the first half of 2026. Bluebird 8 to 29 are in various stages of production, and we are scheduled to complete assembly of 40 satellites equivalent of Micron by the first half of 2026, bringing us to Bluebird 46. A detailed cadence of our 25 and 26 deployment plan is shown in the company quarterly presentation found on our IR website. After Bluebird 7, our satellite will support a stackable configuration of 3, 4, 6, and 8 satellites per launch, which allow us to meet our 2026 deployment goals. Additionally, we anticipate our novel ASIC chip will be integrated into our Block 2 Bluebird satellite during the first half of 2026 to support 10 gigahertz of processing bandwidth per satellite, which enable us to exceed the capabilities of up to 120 megabits per second on our in-orbit Block 1 Bluebird satellites. These data rates are high enough to achieve the native cellular capability that consumers now expect everywhere from areas not served or not served good enough by terrestrial connectivity. Another key enabler of producing the largest ever commercial communications array at scale is our 95% vertically integrated manufacturing strategy. Over the past several months, we have expanded our manufacturing site both in Midland, Texas, and Homestead, Florida, including acquiring a 4th site in Midland for dedicated microproduction, the building block of our satellites. We will soon be over 500,000 square feet of manufacturing and operational space globally, providing us with greater manufacturing and work capabilities with a tighter control over the manufacturing process from end to end. This rigorous effort, strengthened by our skilled workforce, enables us to proactively manage nearly every step in the process, including securing long lead materials well in advance of satellite assembly, while keeping our materials and components costs low. Simply put, we are the first company in history of commercial satellite manufacturing to produce satellites of our size and power at scale. Together, our key technology differentiation in the size of our satellite, spectrum availability, and custom ASIC that support today's capability of cellular broadband from space, supported by our extensive portfolio of over 3,100 patent and patent pending claims. 2026 is the year we scale commercial operations. We are the only company capable of delivering 4G and 5G, and in the future, 6G broadband speed sufficient for voice calls, voice over LTE, live video calls, streaming, and full internet access directly to modified devices. Our technology is anchored by our ability to manufacture the largest commercial communications array ever placed into low Earth orbits, creating a durable technology advantage. Our satellites enable digital beamforming and are capable of multi-carrier aggregation in multiple frequencies, supporting simultaneous users per beam, behaving like a terrestrial cell tower from space. When combined with our integrated ground space gateway architecture and growing commercial ecosystem with over 50 leading global mobile network operator partners who collectively cover nearly 3 billion subscribers. As Scott will discuss in more detail, we continue to expand our commercial ecosystem. In the fourth quarter of 2025, we announced a definitive commercial agreement with Verizon in the United States and STC Group in Saudi Arabia, and other key markets across the Middle East and Africa. As part of our 10-year agreement with STC Group, we receive a prepayment of $175 million in 2025, indicative of the ambition we both share in bringing connectivity gaps and delivering cellular broadband directly to devices. Recently, we announced partnership with Orange, Telefonica, CK Hutchison, Taiwan Mobile, and progressing initiatives with Vodafone to bring our direct-to-device cellular broadband service to their markets, who are now part of our commercial ecosystem with over 50 leading global mobile network operator partners who collectively cover nearly 3 billion subscribers. To the date, our commercial advancement has positioned us to secure over $1 billion in total contracted revenue commitment from our commercial partners. As a reminder, our comprehensive spectrum strategy is defined by our access to approximately 1,150 megahertz of low-band and mid-band tunable MNO spectrum globally, which include 45 megahertz of MSS lower mid-band spectrum access in North America and 60 megahertz of licensed S-band spectrum priority rights outside North America. Our low-band spectrum strategy is centered around the use of premium multi-operator 850 megahertz cellular spectrum, which has important characteristics like longer reach, better penetration, and compatibility with existing 3GPP standards and devices. We have further strengthened this advantage through strategic MSS and cellular spectrum, including both premium, lower band, mid-band, L-band, and S-band spectrum priority rights, positioning us to reliably deliver cellular broadband service at a global scale. We also made significant progress in our government business as our satellite technology continued to be used by the United States government for dual use and dedicated applications. National security is a key priority for the United States, and we continue to see willingness to rapidly adopt, innovate, forward-looking technologies like ours. Taking together this accomplishment and the competitive advantages we have built give us a significant momentum as we progress to 2026 as the partner of choice for the global mobile network operators and unique non-communication capability for the U.S. government. And with that, I will turn the call back to Scott.
Thank you, Abel. I want to take this time to reflect on our business accomplishments in 2025 and how we see the business evolving over 2026 and 2027. Last year, 2025, was the year we activated our revenue engine with record revenue of over $70 million, achieving the upper end of our revenue guidance. We are no longer a pre-revenue company. During the year, revenue was primarily driven by commercial gateway deliveries and milestones completed from our government contracts. We delivered 15 commercial gateways to MNO partners in the second half of 2025. Importantly, these sales are a leading indicator that our MNO partners are preparing for SpaceMobile commercial service and making investments ahead of that rollout. This was also a well-diversified set of initial gateway deliveries across 9 different customers across 5 continents, which starts to paint the picture of our initial commercial markets in the US, Canada, Europe, Japan, the Middle East, and Africa. In terms of signing contracts, the major customer deals for 2025 were definitive commercial agreements with Verizon and STC Group, joining AT&T and Vodafone. We continue to see heavy engagement from MNOs, resulting in good progress deepening and growing our partner ecosystem, taking advantage of our base of over 50 global MNOs with nearly 3 billion subscribers. We and our mobile network partners also recently announced additional specific initiatives with Vodafone, Orange, Telefonica, CK Hutchinson, Taiwan Mobile, among others, while formally unveiling Satellite Connect Europe and its leadership team as our European distribution joint venture with Vodafone. In 2026, we expect more MNOs to join the AST SpaceMobile network, and we expect to harvest our pipeline for many additional definitive commercial agreements as the contractual relationships mature with our existing partners beyond the investor MNOs. The U.S. government was also a significant contributor to 2025 revenue. During the year, we executed against our existing 10 contracts across an expanding list of interested agencies, developing and testing additional capabilities using our in-orbit infrastructure, capabilities critical to U.S. national security, including the Golden Dome project. The revenue derived from U.S. government is not dependent on full constellation deployment, but is more scalable by satellite count, which makes it an early, reliable contributor to revenue. As a reminder, the goal of these contracts is to develop capabilities that could grow into programs of record, with billions of annual revenue potential in aggregate for missions incredibly important to U.S. national security. We also recently announced our status as a prime contractor to the U.S. government and received a $30 million contract award from the United States Space Development Agency for the Europa Track 2 Commercial Solutions Program. This contract focuses on developing immediate, resilient, and low latency tactical satellite communications directly between government and devices. The award demonstrates how commercial space innovation can be rapidly integrated into national security missions. The award further validates the dual-use nature of our technology for both commercial and national security applications. Regarding the Golden Dome project, we continue to execute against our current contract with the Space Development Agency, and we were recently awarded an IDIQ contract under the United States Missile Defense Agency's SHIELD program. These awards position us to compete for a wide range of future activities to support one of the largest and most significant United States defense programs in history. As we turn the page into 2026, we see this year as an inflection point as we enter commercial service with our initial MNO partners, while also continuing to generate revenue from the commercial gateway and government strategies. Before the impact of commercial service revenue later in the year, we expect revenue to at least double versus 2025. In fact, our 2026 expectations are further de-risked given our contracted pipeline, which provides upside with additional government contract wins. Looking ahead to 2027, with a large-scale constellation in orbit, we see a really strong outlook for both commercial and government service revenue. 2027 will be the first full year impact of commercial service revenue as the AST SpaceMobile cellular broadband service becomes available in some of the best markets worldwide to hundreds of millions of subscribers via a low-friction service offering provided when the subscriber needs it most. We also expect government revenue to continue to multiply in 2027, with significant upside depending on certain contract outcomes. We see the opportunity in 2027 approaching $1 billion in annual revenue, importantly comprised of revenue both long-term contracted or highly recurring in nature. subject to achievement of commercial and government service objectives. Going into the end of the decade, we see further multiples of revenue upside, driven by greater subscriber uptake and market extension. All told, we are confident that our business strategy has strong competitive differentiation and is supported by a growing list of industry tailwinds. We enter 2026 with the assurance and conviction needed to win in an ever-expanding TAM. I am now happy to pass the call over to Andy to walk through our financial update.
Thanks, Scott, and good afternoon, everyone. During the fourth quarter of 2025, we continued to execute on our commercial objectives while expanding manufacturing and, importantly, significantly strengthening our financial position to support our core objectives in 2026. 2025 was best described as the year of scaling at AST SpaceMobile. We began the year focused on building out manufacturing to support our targeted launch schedule through 2026, and we ended the year with the launch of our first Block 2 Bluebird satellite, BB6, a seminal moment in the history of our company. As we speak with you today, we have 29 Block 2 Bluebird satellites in various states of production and are on target to complete the assembly of 40 satellites equivalent of microns during the first half of 2026. For 2026, AST SpaceMobile's global workforce is intensely focused on completing our Block 2 Bluebird satellites to support the orbital launch of 45 to 60 total satellites during the year as we work towards commercial service activation in the second half. As Scott described, our focus on launch cadence and commercial service activation in 2026 is complemented by our increasing revenue opportunities, both from commercial and U.S. government partners. We are now a revenue-generating company, and we will work hard to achieve profitability from our growing revenue initiatives that are intrinsically linked to the increasing number of Block 2 Bluebird satellites that we put into low Earth orbit. Our rapid growth is supported by a fortified balance sheet. Not only do we now have the cash to support the full build-out and launch of a constellation of over 100 satellites to provide worldwide SpaceMobile service, our most recent financing activities position us to accelerate the deployment of our controlled spectrum bands on a global basis, monetize the capabilities of our proprietary technology to capture the evolving commercial opportunities related to artificial intelligence, enhance investment in government space opportunities in the United States, reduce our higher interest debt, and pursue opportunistic investments to accelerate our SpaceMobile services and capabilities. All the while, we continue to balance a prudent approach to our spending while moving quickly to protect and capitalize on our first-mover advantage of bringing space-based broadband connectivity direct to unmodified smartphones in the rapidly growing direct-to-device market. Our intentional focus on investing in operational growth led to higher adjusted operating expenses and capital expenditures in Q4 of 2025, both consistent with our expectations and previously communicated during our Q3 2025 earnings call. Importantly, our revenue ramp continued in Q4 with significant revenue growth from commercial gateway deliveries, services, and contracted milestones completed for the U.S. government, resulting in 2025 revenue near the top of our guidance range. Moving to the operating and capital metrics slide, let's review the key metrics for the fourth quarter and full year of 2025 in more detail. On the first chart, for the fourth quarter, we incurred non-GAAP adjusted operating expenses of $95.7 million versus $67.7 million in the third quarter. As a reminder, non-GAAP adjusted operating expenses exclude non-cash operating costs, including depreciation and amortization and stock-based compensation. The quarter-over-quarter increase of $28.0 million resulted primarily from a $23.4 million increase in adjusted cost of revenues related to gateway deliveries, the first revenue from our MNO partners, together with a slight $3.5 million increase in adjusted R&D costs a $3.0 million increase in adjusted engineering services costs. This partially offset by a $1.9 million decrease in adjusted general and administrative costs. Our Q4 adjusted operating expenses, excluding those adjusted costs of revenue, would be $66.8 million compared to $62.2 million in Q3 of 2025, which is in line with the mid-60s million guidance that I previously provided. For the full year of 2025, non-GAAP adjusted operating expenses less adjusted costs of revenue totaled $224.8 million compared to $151.8 million for the full year of 2024. The primary drivers of the increase were growth in our workforce, including contractors and consultants, our expanded production facilities and other professional fees, including legal fees related to our spectrum and financing transactions. Turning now to the second chart on the slide, our capital expenditures for the fourth quarter of 2025 were approximately $407 million versus approximately $259 million for the third quarter of 2025. This figure was made up primarily of capitalized direct materials, labor for our Block 2 Bluebird satellites, and payments made in connection with multiple launch contracts, with the balance relating to facility and production equipment expenditures. This amount was above the quarterly guidance of $275 to $325 million that I provided during our last earnings call, mainly due to intentional growth investments to accelerate satellite material purchases and the timing of launch contract payments. For the first quarter of 2026, we estimate that our adjusted operating expenses, excluding cost of revenues, will be in the range of approximately $70 to $80 million as we add to our workforce and continue to design, manufacture, launch, and operate our growing satellite constellation, as well as pursue the monetization of our L and S-band spectrum usage rights. We expect our capital expenditures to remain flat in Q1 2026 with the fourth quarter of 2025, and it will come in at a range of somewhere between $350 to $425 million, primarily driven by the timing of launch payments related to our near-term launches, which, as I previously explained, vary from quarter to quarter. We continue to estimate that the average capital costs, including direct materials and launch costs, for our constellation of over 90 Block 2 Bluebird satellites will fall in the range of $21 million to $23 million per satellite. Our cost per satellite estimates are subject to fluctuations based on dynamic geopolitical factors, which could impact our costs. As a reminder, the timing of the changes in our adjusted operating expenses and capital expenditures, as I've just described, could be delayed or may not be realized due to a variety of factors. Our planned revenue ramp continued during the fourth quarter, and we expect to continue to grow in 2026 holistically. With respect to revenue generation, we believe we can enable continuous SpaceMobile service across key markets such as the United States, Europe, Japan, and other strategic markets with the launch and operation of approximately 45 to 60 Bluebird satellites and additional strategic worldwide markets with the launch and operation of approximately 90 Bluebird satellites. Further, as we continue to launch and deploy our constellation, we will continue to support U.S. government applications, currently ongoing and accelerating as our constellation grows. In the fourth quarter, we recognized revenue of $54.3 million, primarily driven by gateway hardware sales and various U.S. government service milestone achievements. Additionally, in Q4, we recognized revenue in connection with the provision of critical consulting services for an MNO partner. For the full year of 2025, we achieved revenue of $70.9 million, representing the top end of our 2025 revenue guidance range of $50 to $75 million. Now, turning to our revenue expectations in 2026, we manage the top line with a focus on full-year performance, given the quarterly variability inherent to our business, including the timing of contract signings, equipment sales, and milestone achievements. As a result, we believe our revenue performance is best evaluated on a full year basis. As we continue advancing our launch and network activation initiatives, we expect revenue to grow meaningfully relative to our 2025 financial performance. Specifically, we expect to generate full year 2026 revenue in the range of $150 to $200 million. We expect revenue to continue to be driven by gateway deliveries, achievement of contracted milestones for the U.S. government, M&O consulting services, with potential upside related to the recognition of initial commercial service revenue. Quarterly revenue will likely vary significantly depending on achievement of milestones and the timing of customer activities. We believe that approximately half of the revenue opportunity within our commercial pipeline this year is already booked or contracted. The remaining portion consists of a combination of advanced stage opportunities that have not yet been signed, as well as net new business we expect to secure over the course of the year. As previously noted, we anticipate government-related revenue growth to be driven by the factors outlined earlier in Scott's remarks. The achievement of our revenue plan remains subject to several contingencies, including the successful launch and deployment of Block 2 Bluebird satellites related to U.S. government applications contractual milestone achievements, critical gateway equipment sales to our M&O partners in support of their anticipated commercialization efforts of SpaceMobile service, and service revenues in connection with the activation of our commercial service provided by our existing and planned deployed and operational satellites. Finally, on the last chart on the slide, on a pro forma basis, inclusive of cash raised in February via the convertible notes offering with a 2.25% 10-year coupon at an effective strike price of $116.30 per share, and the available liquidity under the at-the-market or ATM facility, our cash equivalents, and restricted cash as of December 31, 2025, was approximately $3.9 billion.
Primary drivers for this cash increase include the execution of the two convertible notes offerings in October of 2025 and February of 2026 for a total of approximately $2.2 billion of net proceeds and approximately $706 million of net proceeds raised from the 2025 ATM facilities during Q4, leaving approximately $80 million available under that facility.
In addition to capital raised via the recent 2.25% 10-year convertible notes, we also took action since our last earnings call by further reducing our outstanding debt related to the January 2025 and July 2025 convertible notes, each due in 2032. Following the February equitization transactions, we have now converted approximately $457 million of the outstanding $460 million of the January convertible notes into 19.2 million Class A shares and $250 million of the outstanding $575 million of the July notes into 4.5 million Class A shares. We will continue to look at attractive debt reduction efforts, including convertible notes, as the year progresses. Given the current strength of our balance sheet that now includes cash equivalents, and restricted cash and available liquidity under the ATM facility of over $3.9 billion on a pro forma basis as of December 31, we are now not only fully funded to manufacture and launch a constellation of over 100 satellites to provide worldwide SpaceMobile service, but we have increased our financial flexibility to make further investments to expedite the timing of and augment the capabilities of our SpaceMobile service. At this time, we do not have any plans to pursue additional convertible debt. The combination of increasing commercial and government opportunities, rapidly scaling manufacturing and satellite launch operations, and a fortified balance sheet firmly positions AST SpaceMobile to achieve our objectives on behalf of all of our stakeholders in 2026 and beyond. I am incredibly proud of the significant progress our company made in 2025, backed by the intense focus and tireless efforts of our worldwide workforce. It's now time to further execute on our launch cadence to bring SpaceMobile service to connect the unconnected in the coming periods. And with that, this completes the presentation component of our business update call, and I'll pass it back to Scott. Scott?
Thank you, Andy. Before we go to the queue of analyst questions, would like to address a few of the questions submitted by our investors. Operator, could you please start us off with the first question?
Justin from Georgia asks, any interesting learnings from BB6 and 7? Is the production of composite satellites going to be vastly different? Any unforeseen delays?
Thank you, Justin, for the question. BB6, it is the largest phase array ever deployed in space. It's 3.5 times bigger than our previous deployments, which were also the world record on size. Going through that first deployment at 2,400 square feet successfully, learn how to capture, control, and manage the satellite at that size would allow us to actually do it much more faster. We do 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 satellites that are coming. So that was a very, very important milestone in learning how to operate, deploy, and fly something of this size, which will help us to do it faster in the next deployments. The other thing that will happen going forward, passing 6 and 7, is that we're stacking the satellites. So we're not be launching individual satellites anymore. They will be packed in group of either 3, 4, 6, or 8 in a single launch. That is what will allow us to meet our launch cadence of this year, which we're expecting 45 satellites in orbit and 60 satellites ready to ship during 2026.
Justin also asks, is there an updated timeline for the mid-band constellation for using L and S band spectrum?
Yes, there is. We're planning to start launching the mid-band constellation by the end of the year. The mid-band constellation had the advantage of combining 3GPP standard operator-on frequencies, and also our L and S bands, which combine give a great flexibility to the offering, and also allowed us to continue to increase the data rate capacity that we have in our system, going way above our 120 megabits per second that we already have in Block 1. So that allows a combination of IMT spectrum, which we see it like a RAN extension to extend capability in places where there is no spectrum light up, to overlay spectrum in our LNS in order to cover all locations as a supplement and an augmentation of the terrestrial network with data rate that far exceeds our current 120 megabit per second in the low band Block 1 satellites. With the largest satellites and with access to combine in certain regions to over 100 megahertz of spectrum, combining the spectrum of our network partners and our own, this will give a true broadband experience on a global basis.
Leading from New Zealand asks, with the larger designs complete and being produced, do you anticipate future R&D or new product lines? This may be data centers, exclusive military constellations, collecting data on usage, providing aircraft and ship traffic radar, etc.?
Thank you, Leiden. Listen, the most difficult aspect of the R&D with the launch, deployment, and usage of our BB6, the core aspect of it is complete. So the ability to produce a lot of power, the ability to have a very large aperture with very sensitive aperture, the ability to have many gigahertz of processing power with our own ASIC, the ability to do it cost effectively with our own power generation technology. All of that R&Ds have been completed, and it's an integral part of what we have, what we're operating, and as you said, being completed. Now, we do see many other opportunities for the technology that we're starting to see usage of them. One is radar, another is power generation, another one is multiplying the spectrum usage. So we believe in combining our large aperture with our AI capability will create a multiplier for the spectrum. So the 50 megahertz that we have, it will fill a multiple of that. It could be 3 times that, it could be 10 times that. So we see a lot of opportunity to combining all this capability, including very precise geolocation, radar, communications, all that wrap up with an AI infrastructure. We think that is a significant additional value that we can create with our infrastructure and the already invested R&D.
Kevin from Vancouver asks, can you share more color on the most recent $1 billion convertible note offering? Many investors are confused as your current liquidity was already approximately $3 billion and sufficient for around 100 satellites. Were there any specific opportunities in mind when you issued the offering, or is it really, quote unquote, just in case something pops up?
Thanks for that question, Kevin. This is Andy. It's absolutely the case that in Q4, when we finished the convertible in October, we were in a position to fully fund the worldwide constellation at 100 plus satellites. Nothing has changed on that front. And the convertible deal that we did at just over $1 billion in February provides us essentially extra flexibility to look at investments that go beyond that first 100 constellation. And what I mean by that is, number one, we can accelerate the deployment of our controlled global spectrum with this added fund. We also have the opportunity to monetize our technology to capture commercial opportunities related to AI, which are increasingly coming our way. We will look to deploy funds to enhance our investment in government space opportunities in the United States. We've talked about our debt profile. These funds provide us flexibility to look at reducing higher interest debt that we currently have. And finally, opportunistically, any investments that help us accelerate the time to bring SpaceMobile service and capabilities will be a good use of these funds as well. And I would just close by noting that we've confirmed that we have no current plans to look at an additional convertible deal. We feel that the balance sheet is where it needs to be to provide us the opportunity to execute our objectives in the near and midterm.
And with that, I'd like to thank our shareholders for submitting those questions. Operator, let's open up the call to analyst questions now.
Thank you. And if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate a line is in the question queue. You may press star 2 to remove yourself from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up the handset before pressing the star keys. One moment, please, while we poll for questions. Our first question comes from the line of Griffin Boss with B. Riley Securities. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my question. So First, I just want to talk about, this expanding TAM that you've talked about with the dual use capabilities and government contracts. Do you see any scenario where you build and launch future Blackbird satellites with different payloads that might be exclusively for government customers or applications?
Hey, how are you? Listen, the satellites are really designed to manage all these applications in a single platform. So we do not need multiple satellites for multiple payloads. The core applications for our government contracts, for our partnership with the MNOs, are all possible through the same platform, which are in fact already being used in combination of the two. So we want to maximize and take advantage of a platform that can be used simultaneously for the two TAMs.
Got it. Okay, understood, Abel. Thanks for that. And then just second one for me, you always mention your thousands of patents, and you talked about on this call, your expertise in building and deploying massive structures in low Earth orbit that could be used for myriad opportunities, and you specifically call out these burgeoning opportunities in AI. You call that out with the convertible raise too. But you have this one specific patent that's been of interest to us for a while for thermal management systems for structures in space, and that's a patent that describes a process for satellites wherein heat is dissipated locally at each antenna, and heat can be directed to each antenna assembly during periods of extreme cold. So just curious if you could maybe elaborate on that specifically, as well as your other capabilities and how that could potentially be used for opportunities in data centers in space, or why that makes AST satellites attractive for those types of capabilities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there are many key enablers that needed to be designed by us and deployed and patent in order to solve probably the most difficult problem, which is connecting broadband regular handsets. So for that, we needed to develop and vertically integrate 95% of our technology, had the technology to produce a low-cost power. That's a very significant of satellites our size. We are on a factor of 10 lower per square meter power production of what historically manufacturers had been using. The size of the satellite, and then the ability to generate power at a low cost per square meter, and then being able to dissipate and effectively run a lot of wattage per square meter within the power constraints of space. So that's where we have built up a significant portfolio of IP. That is a particular, I think you hit it right. That's a particular technology that enable a lot of things. Then when we talk about the ability to manage the spectrum using AI capabilities, we call it AI spectrum management. The ability to use these satellites not only for communications, but other applications like radar. And when you combine that with the ability to store, manage data in a way that uses the spectrum very, very efficiently, it opens a lot of other opportunities on the TAM that we have. We believe the largest TAM is in broadband, true broadband, directly to the handset, where you will be basically becoming what I call the third leg of communications. You have Wi-Fi, you have cellular, and now you have space. And our belief is to participate at a scale in a way that is meaningful for our global operators. The broadband capability is essential. and it's not and it's something that we have now. I mean, that's what we have with the satellites that we're deploying right now, and we're extremely happy of the performance that we see on our BB6 in the new 2,400 square feet platform that we just launched.
Got it. Thanks for all the color, Abel. I'll hand it off here and hop back in the queue. Thanks for taking my questions.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Colin Canfield with Cantor Fitzgerald. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, thank you for the question. As we parse out the comments that you talked about on 2028 revenue potential, just kind of thinking of like the bull bear of what you said, so multiple versus 1 billion of potential in 27, which suggests, let's call it 1.5 to 3 for 28. How does the team kind of think about the mix of opportunities between government and B2B customers? And then kind of within B2B, how do you think about tech discussions between communications, intelligence, and on-orbit compute? Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. I'll take that. So we put forward our expectations for revenue in 2026, building on the high end of our guidance that we achieved in 2025, and then we stated a goal for 2027. So we did not state anything for 2028. So I'll keep my comments to 27. But I think what we see is as we get this platform on a full year run rate, and we're able to put the consumer business, the D2D communications business in place in some of the most favorable markets globally, and then you put that alongside our government applications, giving some time to mature and some potential contract wins we're chasing. That's how we got to that 2027 goal number, and we think that that's probably more weighted towards commercial based on that framework, but of course upside I think if government does better. And as you go out into 2028 and later in the decade, ultimately we do think that our commercial business is going to be bigger. That's always been the premise. So commercial, I think at scale should be bigger than government. We think that market's really attractive. We think all the demand drivers we've tracked for 7-8 years of the company are intact and growing stronger by the day. But the government business is also very attractive. And as we said, with all the various use cases we're tracking, there's potential for multiple billions of annual revenue through those use cases as well. So we see a really bright picture. I'd say it's largely consistent with how we've always seen it, although government's trended up over the last year or two. But that's how we see the mix playing out. And I think that's as we're deploying and as you saw, we put out a number of customer announcements today. We see the strength of that demand as strong as ever.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then as we think of the progression of growth, is it fair to use the 4Q performance as a baseline for 2026 and then growing from there? Or is the commentary in terms of growth for 26 more aligned with just growing from the 2025 annual number?
The way I'd think about it is, before we initiate commercial service here, we're doing revenue that's kind of earlier stage, right? So the commercial revenue is not as consistent, and the government revenue is building nicely, but much lower than where it can be. So quarter to quarter, I wouldn't say we're planning on building quarter to quarter. I think about it annually, like Andy put it in his speech. It's really about an annual target. And so I think at least doubling where we hit in 2025 is the right way to think about it, with, of course, upside as we launch commercial service. But quarter to quarter, at least in the next few quarters, before commercial service comes into play in the second half of 2026, that's how to think about it. Is we're putting commercial infrastructure in place, and we're performing against our government pipeline.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Brian Kraft with Deutsche Bank. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm just trying to understand the manufacturing side a little bit better. Would you mind providing just some color on how many satellites beyond BB7 are built and ready to ship today, and maybe how many you expect to be built and ready to ship by mid-year? I know you talked about the microns, and those are the hardest part, but I think there is some, assembly that takes some time beyond the microns themselves. And then, just related to that, I mean, I think, clearly the manufacturing pace is somewhat behind where you had expected it to be. Perhaps you could maybe just give us some appreciation for the kinds of things that maybe took longer than you had expected, and whether you think you've now worked through all those issues and you're kind of accelerating the pace up to where, you had expected it to get to. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we are at a point where you see that acceleration. We certainly see that in the manufacturing of the key building block, which is the micron, which we were on satellite 30. We are on target to at least be ready to ship this year 60 satellites with a minimum of 45 into orbit. So we went through a phase, and just a year ago, the satellites were 3.5 times smaller. They were already very big. They were the biggest ever launch. These ones are 3.5 times bigger, and that's BB 6 and 7. Past that, basically, what is something that help us to accelerate our cadence of satellites in orbit is we are able to stack them, and that stack is difficult. You need to be able to stack either 3, 4, 6, or 8 satellites, and that is near completion. So that's that where you see you see batches of 6 in the getting out of the factory very soon here.
And okay, so on the stacking, if I may, just in layman's terms, are you saying that there are specific engineering things that you had to figure out in order to get the stacking right, or are you just saying that getting that many done at once so that you could stack them and get it ready for a combined launch took some time? Just if you don't mind clarifying.
Getting them ready for a combined launch is the ability of, you're talking about something like a 5-story building worth of satellites, stacking them in either blocks of 3 of them, 4, 6 of 8. But that process is completed, and the next batch of 6, you see the pictures in the deck that we put in the AR deck, and that we pass that phase as we get ready to resume the shipments to the Cape.
Okay, thank you. If I may sneak one more in, I know you said that BB7's expected to go up this month, and then launches every 1 to 2 months. Could we expect possibly a launch with multiple satellites in April, or is it likely to be 2 months post the March launch?
Yes, the all further launches are in a stack configuration. We don't have any more single launches like we did on BB6 and BB7. This next coming launch is super important for us, as basically allows to reuse the first stage of the New Glenn, which is the only platform commercial that exists that can actually stack 8 of our satellites. There are other platforms that start 6 or 3, but with the New Glenn we get the maximum amount of satellites per launch, and that ability is becoming available with the new satellites.
And Brian, I just add, we expect to ship that next batch in April. So depending on timing and of course under ideal conditions, it's about 3 weeks or so to launch from there. So we're not going to speculate on launch timing for that, but we look like we're going to be in a position to ship those in April, and you can see that on page 10 in our deck.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Louis DePalma with William Blair. Please proceed with your question.
Good evening, Abel, Scott, and Andy. Congrats on all of the partnership announcements and the progress with your constellation. First, I was wondering, are you in Barcelona for the conference, and will there be more announcements this week besides what you've already announced? Are you holding back certain announcements?
Hey, how you doing? It's Scott here. Yeah, we are in a conference room in Barcelona, so it's great to do the call this quarter on the road. But yeah, we had a flurry of announcements today, and yeah, you can expect more for the rest of the week as well.
Excellent. And my second question is, what service level will your network support when you launch the different beta offerings in the summer? Will there be different phases in terms of the service capabilities as more satellites come online, or should the initial beta that launches whenever that takes place, will that have close to a true 5G experience?
Yeah, the way to think about this is peak data rate. What peak data rate you can expect on the phone will be directionally proportional to the amount of spectrum that we get allocated. And with some partners we have between our spectrum and their spectrum, enough to around 100 megahertz. And you can put a multiple of that number of megahertz to think about what is the peak data rate. Today we're managing between 3 and 4 bits per hertz, so that multiple is in that order. So the initial launch of commercial services is with the lower end of that as the allocated spectrum. It will be less, but as we enable more spectrum, which the satellites support them now, they have great flexibility to keep adding a spectrum and keep adding and later even combining low band spectrum with mid band spectrum. Then you see the peak data rates keep enhancing. So that's the way to think about the key performance metrics as we launch services.
Thanks. That makes sense, Abel. And one financial question. For the $1 billion revenue goal for 2027, how much of that is customer or subscriber usage based versus being minimum revenue commitments that are contractually obligated with your MNO partners, such that if you actually are able to get between the 45 and 50 satellites online by the end of the year, how much of that $1 billion is then already in the bag, so to speak?
Sure. So remember, we're at 1.2 billion contracted backlog right now, which we're very proud of, and is a testament to how we've built the ecosystem with our partners and how confident our partners are in the business that we're building, right? But that is still very, very low number compared to what our expectations are for the revenue potential of the business. So while it's a good indicator, that backlog, which again is over 1.2 billion at this point, but in terms of its contribution to each individual year, it'll be a minority for sure. So if we're in terms of a goal of $1 billion, you can think of that in the low hundreds of millions, somewhere in 100 to 300 range, depending on the year.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Chris Scholl with UBS. Please proceed with your question.
Great. Thank you. Looking at your new disclosure, it appears your services gross margins are around 90%. Is this a good way to think about the business longer term? And as revenue generation starts to kick in, can you just remind us how you're thinking about operating leverage and where you believe steady state EBITDA margins can reach for the business? Thank you.
Yeah, we've been pretty consistent about this over time. And when you look at the history of the satellite industry, when it's been performing well, it has margins in the 80+% range. And even today, if you look across the market, there are businesses with 90+% flow through margins in certain segments of their business. They just might not report it that way. So this has just tremendous operating leverage in it. And we've always known that off of a fixed cost base. So as we've built the business, nothing's really changed. I mean, we struggle to find true variable cost in a meaningful way. And this is compounded by the fact that, remember, our go-to-market strategy is with the revenue share. So that is a big way that we even get greater leverage in the business and make it not just wholesale, but super wholesale. So at this point, our flow-through margins and our operating leverage, we think over time could contribute to an EBITDA margin, in the 90% area or higher.
Great, thank you. If I can just fit in one more, I recognize that the 10K talks about 90 satellites supporting your longer-term business goals, but does your ability to raise capital maybe incentivize you to perhaps go beyond what is contemplated in the original business plans?
Here, I'll pass it over to Andy.
I think having that flexibility, the capital markets have been wonderful for us over the past year. So that's absolutely the case. But the reality is when we get our constellation built, we're going to get leverage in the P&L to actually be cash flow positive from operations. So we don't feel like at this point we need to look beyond what we've raised right now. It provides us the flexibility to make additional investments, opportunistic, and some of the other things that we're doing on our spectrum strategy. But the real goal is to generate revenue and profit from the constellation as we get it launched. So that's kind of how we're thinking about it right now. But it's certainly nice to have the balance sheet fortified the way it is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Greg Pendy with Clear Street. Please proceed with your question.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my question. Just a real quick one on the operating expenses that you outlined. Could you just remind us what you said, and does that include what will likely be spectrum licensing fees, maybe around $20 million a quarter, or spectrum lease payments?
Yeah, this is Andy. So it's a bit of a walk here. You've got sort of the GAAP OpEx, which includes the normal non-cash items, which we adjust out, which we've talked about, and then from there we also have the cost of revenues, which when we get to service, we move into a more traditional COGS P&L that you'd be more used to there. But then when you net that out, my commentary was that we were just slightly over where we were in Q3 of 25, and right in that guidance that I gave for Q4 in the mid 60s. It does not include spectrum costs as you described for licensing, given that those are capitalized until we actually start monetizing that asset. And of course, we're at the point where we're awaiting FCC approval. So we will speak to that as a specific item when it comes time to kind of build that into the operating expense. But right now, apples to apples, that's been out during the course of 25.
Very helpful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And we have reached the end of the question and answer session. And therefore, I'll now turn the call back over to Scott Wisniewski for closing remarks.
Thank you, operator. And we want to thank all of our shareholders and research analysts for joining the call. We hope to see many of you down in Florida at our upcoming launch. Thank you. Bye.
And this concludes today's conference, and you may disconnect your lines at this time. Thank you for your participation.
All right, guys, there we have it. The ASTS Q4 earnings call. Before you guys leave, I want to thank you guys for joining me for the stream. I'm going to give you guys my price target for this year, and then also just my valuation model that I have plugged in. And you could pretty much just use this universally based on the data and stuff. I'll go over a couple of the key things I heard during the call and a couple things that I'm seeing based on the report that I think the market might be missing and that I think are very crucial to watch. So as we saw, ASTS reported $70.9 million in revenue, primarily from the gateways and the U.S. government service contracts. This is still significant because AST previously was very pre-commercial, and the reported revenue confirms that commercial activity is now underway and that the carrier relationships are moving beyond these memorandums into hardware developments and deployments and services. So this is going to be absolutely crucial. Also, ASTS communicated here where the $1.2 billion of aggregate contracted revenue commitments. These commitments provide visibility into future revenue tied to the carrier agreements and infrastructure build-out. So while not all of this converts immediately into revenue, it demonstrates a long-term operator participation. And I think it is just an absolutely bullish thing to have companies that and big firms that believe inside this technology so much. They've tested it, they've looked at it in depth. You got to think, think about the level of research us as investors do. Now think about the type of research you would have to do if you're investing millions upon millions, even billions of dollars into the company. So I think that is crucial, and I think that it is a great thing to see. From a balance sheet perspective, ASTS ended the year with 3.9 billion in cash equivalents. This is absolutely massive, and the company has indicated they plan to launch the 45 to 60 satellites in orbit. This is a huge step towards achieving the meaningful continuous coverage which we are all looking for. Execution against this cadence will be crucial, but I do have trust, especially based on how Abel put it inside the earnings call. If you guys were listening for that part, Abel said that they are aiming for 60 expected but 45 minimum, and I like the way he put that they don't see any way to get under 45, and I think that it is very, very possible. So strategically, the company continues to expand its carrier ecosystem. Recent announcements included the engagements in the cooperative agreements across Europe and Asia. These are huge markets, and I think that they are very understated. And Europe will be the next frontier, and this indicates a growing alignment with existing 4G and 5G infrastructure. So the emphasis in these partnerships is on complementing terrestrial networks and improving resilience rather than replacing the traditional coverage, which is obviously what ASTS aims to do. And I think that this was a very good earnings report. I don't see that many bad things coming out of here, especially with the nice images we got of them actually creating the Bluebirds. As we can see here, Bluebird 8 to Bluebird 29 are in various stages of production and expect to complete assembly of 40 satellites equivalent of microns by first half of 2026. This is absolutely huge news. And another big thing I saw during the call was that Scott said we obviously saw a lot of announcements today with all the European markets. We saw the Orange deal, the Telefónica deal, but Scott mentioned that there are going to be even more announcements this week. So the stock price is currently sitting at, where is it? $88 a share, only up 2% after hours, but I think we could see a lot more gains this week. I think it is still very early for the stock, and I think that there's a lot to still be expecting here, especially as the commercial market openings are expected in the second half of the year. This suggests a phased rollout strategy by the company where it is initially initially government I was talking about, and that is why the stock kind of dropped from 92 to 88 during the call, I think, is that government contracts typically move faster once capacity is available. So the governments will get the first testings of this, will get their hands on this, the military, all these different things, all these great businesses, all these great ventures will get it first. And these require defined coverage corridors rather than full global density like mobile providers do, like a T-Mobile, not T, Verizon and AT&T. They do not want to have an unfinished product fully out there yet. They want, but the government wants this in their hands as soon as possible. So we will see that, and this will be the start of their revenue. They said they're aiming to double the revenue up to 150 to 200 million this year at the minimum, and I think that this is very crucial. And the key items to monitor going forward are going to be obviously the launch cadence, the initial government activation milestones, and also just seeing more announcements. I think that we will see a lot more announcements here in the next coming weeks. I believe that ASTS will be bigger than Starlink. Me personally, I agree as well. But in what's Starlink valued at? I think it's like 500 billion. ASTS only 30 billion. I was pulling up my AST valuation model. First thing I got to show you guys though, research shows, this is an older study, but research shows 66% of subscribers are willing to pay extra for satellite connectivity. So here we can see AI data science research has tracked consumer interest in satellite connectivity. The cumulative proportion willing to pay this many dollars a month: 50% $5, 35% $10, 15% $15. These are high rates. But obviously, I think that they misconstrue the story, because I think they look low, but in reality, the reality of this is that this will be baked into the plan. So whenever you get a new phone and whenever you get a new plan with these types of companies, it will just be tacked onto their initial base coverage, and they will just be able to offer coverage all across the U.S., all across the world, and that will be a big selling point for these companies. And that is why I think that they will be able to get this $10 premium price that a lot of people aren't expecting them to get, with only 35% having the elastic demand for it. But I think that it is very possible to get that $10. And in my valuation, I said $8. So let's say $8. As we know, this is a 50-50 split between the provider and ASTS. So as we could see here, I projected with 3 billion potential users, let's say a 10% adoption rate, which is on the lower end of this type of company. And then we said the $4 monthly revenue, which is obviously very easy to see with an $8 thing, that the $8 that the providers would charge. I also added on $2 billion in other revenue. This is government contracts, other things. If they already have $1.2 billion before the tech is even rolled out, you can imagine how they are able to get at least $2 billion. Most companies in the high growing tech are in the 20x EBITDA range. Operating expenses, this will be a very high margin business and very low expense. Once the satellites are up and ready, this will be a very good business, and the operating expenses will be quite low. You could really play with this a little. It doesn't matter as much, but I don't see it going past $1 billion. Let's say even $1 billion a year. Operating expenses, outstanding shares, I think it's 270 million right now. Let's assume there's a little bit more dilution. We get to 308. That brings us to a $1,000 share price within the next 5 years, and that is my personal price prediction at the very lowest. And then obviously, if you move this around even a little bit, I mean, let's say 20% adoption rate, we double that to 1,900. I mean, these numbers are absolutely insane to even think about, and I think that you will. I was talking about it earlier, where you don't know what you're really missing out on until you have it. And once people have this type of service and other people see how good this service is, I'm sorry about the mic. I think I'm being too loud, but once people see how good this service is and how applicable it is, and especially as the world is getting more and more connected, everyone's got their phone on them somewhere near them, and it's just the main thing going on right now. So I think that this will be a very big business in the future. I think that there's a lot of different avenues of revenue. I think that the earnings report, in my opinion, was very strong, and I think that this just reconfirmed what we already knew, but also build on the recent news and the developments we've seen. So SpaceX did 165 launches in 2025. All Blue Origin is 7.5 launches with 8 satellites for ASTS to reach 60 satellites. I think it's very possible this year. I would have to agree with you on that. I don't know why people were arguing earlier in the stream about it's no way they get to 60 satellites, not even 45. If Abel tells me that they are guaranteeing minimum 45, they're expecting 60, then I will believe them on that. And I think that it's all a matter of the launch providers. It is not on ASTS. ASTS is doing everything they need to correctly, and that is shown through their government backlog and the contracted revenue that they have. So if anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them right now. I'll quickly go over a couple more things. We'll look at maybe a couple more charts and stuff. Oh yeah, so this is my 5-year prediction. So pretty much from now, a 12x on your money, $1,000. But my 1 year end of year, I think $250 a share. As we start to see the commercial ramp up, as we start to see it expanded into the European markets, the Asian markets, and all, I think that this is going to be a big year for the company and a big cornerstone where they start to make that turn into real productivity, especially as we've seen here. One of the main things that really gets me excited is seeing Bluebird 8 to Bluebird 29 various stages of production and assembly of 40 satellites equivalents of microns by first half of 2026. That is absolutely massive, and I think people have understated how big that really is. This is all that we are looking for. If they have these all in place, they have all the cash they need. They have ample cash to even create 100 satellites plus. They said on the call, no need for a dilution this year. I see a very good potential that this hits $250 a share this year, if there is no obvious conflicts like some macro conflicts inside the economy. I would like to believe them, but their track record with regards to the launches and with regards to unrealistic promises is not really great. I agree with you on that front, but I also think that it was a tougher environment, especially due to the fact that they were trying to really get this technology down pat. As we could see here, the Block 1 satellites, 700 square feet versus the Block 2, 2,400 square feet. And they have showed that these are working, and that these are going to be the future. And he even said during the call, 5 stories tall. I mean, this house that I'm in right now, 2 stories tall, and I sometimes I think it's too big for me. So only imagine 5 stories tall, a big satellite able to provide coverage for any phone across the world. No applications needed, no anything needed, and I think that is absolutely huge. Take care, everyone. Take care, Frugal. Thank you, my friend. Take care as well. I'd agree, but things look different now with Blue Origin. Exactly. I think that Blue Origin being a main partner will be absolutely massive. And where was that picture? Let me see. Let me find it. I'll find it for you guys real quick. Where is this? There we go. I had to pull it up. Jeff Bezos met with the Bell, and I think that this is another thing that kind of got swept under the rug. And obviously with Adriana Cesarno, a big shareholder in the company who hasn't sold any shares, by the way, guys, hasn't sold any shares since becoming a part of this investment. And I think that this is not only for launch services. I see a long-term output creation here, and I think that this is a huge opportunity that the market is still understating, and I think that this year will really be a stepping stone, especially as Blue Origin has been testing and the rocket is looking good. I think that this is a definite yes in my book. So I hold shares long, but I also sell puts and covered calls on it in my trading account. It has been a good options monkey. Yeah, I agree. It has done well in options as well. I used to do the covered calls and stuff on it. I've just recently gotten too busy and stuff to do all that. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'd love to hear them. I love talking about ASTS. I mean, it's my biggest holding for a reason, guys. I mean, I could talk about this stock for probably another 12 hours if you guys really needed me to. A marathon stream. I'd probably lose my voice though. I was already sick a couple weeks ago, so I don't want to get stress my throat out too much, guys. But I appreciate you guys being here. I really do appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day, listen to the call with me, join me on the call, listen to my thoughts. I don't think I'm too crazy to predict the 1,000, and I don't think even I'm too crazy to even say not 1919 in a couple years as well. So anything here is possible. I think that this is a real big runway, a big company in the making, especially you play around with the numbers. I'll drop the link to this in the chat right now if you guys want to play around with it. Check out the numbers yourself, and I think that this is going to be very big. I always remember Adriana's post: "Give us 1.5 years, and we will become one of the bigger companies in the world," or words to that effect. Yeah, that is one thing she has said in the past, and I was just saying that she hasn't sold a single share, not a single share. I know some of you guys out there who say you guys believe in ASTS, but you guys are selling your shares. So, if you guys truly do believe, if you look at where the smart money is going, if you guys look at where the firms are investing, you will realize it is in ASTS. The institutional ownership has increased year over year. It will continue to increase, I believe so. Do you get the feeling that the total addressable market looks even bigger after the call? Me personally, I do think so, especially after the developments we had today. These are really big definitive agreements, and they already had European authorization. Is was something I wanted to point out to you guys. I was talking about it at the start of the stream, but this is a huge stepping stone, and they are already inside the market. So I think that they are pretty much the only name in Europe that will be able to compete. Starlink is way too behind, and the service is not complete. The tech is not there. I think that ASTS, working at scale and all this, even let's say they only make $5 per customer, which is obviously I don't think possible. And then let's say low end of users, 10% adoption rate, and still the same government applications, you still get $649 a share. That is my absolute bear case. The worst case scenario, and you still see pretty much a 7x return on your money. I don't know how people can look at this or play around with these numbers and look at the patents they have, look at the partnerships they have, and be able to sell this stock or play around with this stock, or because I don't want to be selling my shares right now. I didn't want to sell my shares at 130 even, because in any second this stock can drop huge news and this stock can go up 40%. I've seen it many times before. I've seen it with other stocks, and I don't want it to happen to me or if you guys are investing here. So the total addressable market is a huge chunk of the population of the planet. Exactly. So as we know, 3 billion is just the users that we already have, is what I was kind of trying to explain. So 3 billion 3 billion is the already users for the partnerships we have based on Verizon, AT&T, Bell, all this stuff. Let's say a 10% adoption rate with these carriers, and we get to 300 million users. Obviously, I do think that they will also expand into markets such as Africa, such as India, which are obviously probably going to be lower cost. But once the satellites are up and we keep producing satellites, there won't be really much need to worry about where we provide it or for how much. So even when Starlink comes into play in 2028, competition is good. I agree completely, and I was talking about it earlier. The best technology will win, and if you have looked at the patents, I've spent hours looking at it. I've read too many. If you guys are on Twitter, you guys probably read the Cat SE 12 posts. I've tried to read all of them. Some of them take longer than others. Some of them are quicker than others, but I've tried to keep up with the tech. I've tried to understand this as best as I can before I invested. And I think that we are in a very good position if you're investing here. So margins are insane. I agree completely. I want to make ASTS 25% of my portfolio now. I don't see any company offering this potential. I agree completely. I mean, there's been so many opportunities where I looked at the market. There was plays where I was looking at it, and I thought there could be a pop where it would jump maybe 30%, maybe a 3x in a couple months. But I couldn't force myself to sell my ASTS shares, despite it being almost 70% of my portfolio, which is absolutely massive. I mean, it's a huge risk, obviously, but I don't see that. I don't feel that risk. I don't wake up ever feeling worried when I'm holding ASTS shares. And today's earnings call really reinforced that for me, because when we look at stuff like this and we see them continuing to communicate clearly, continuing to be on track, continuing to work hard and get these contracted revenues, that they're really there's really no reason for me to be worried if they're not worried and if the insiders aren't worried and all this other thing. So what is your launch rate prediction? Bear in mind Israel took an entire year. Yeah, I know that is a tough thing. A lot of people are saying that the launch schedule will probably be behind. for me personally, I do not see it falling behind for ASTS. I do not see the launch schedule falling behind. I think that they are in a good position, especially as we were talking about Blue Origin comes online. I think that that will be a big, huge move for the stock. And once we have Blue Origin launching at capacity, then this could really move quickly, especially since they've already tested the rocket and it has been successful. I think that this stock, not that side, the they could have at least, as Abel said, 45 minimum, 60 expected, and I do really believe that. So if we are currently, what's your X name? I'd like to follow. Let me pull it up. I don't even know what my X name is. I'm not on there too much. I might start posting on there though. Let me post it in the chat for you, my friend. There you go. And so as I was saying, I think that this stock. So let's say we're at 6 satellites currently. They can launch in a multiple of either 3, 6, or 8. That's pretty much, well, 3, 4, 6, or 8. But no, I don't think they're gonna really do 4 too much. I think they're gonna focus on 6, 8, and 3 probably. At least 3 to start. So let's see here. We got the amount of launches. We see here we're already in March. Wow, the year is flying by. I mean, it's crazy. I've been investing in ASTS for 2 years. It does not feel like that at all, my friends. Let's see, and then so we have a launch every 30 to 60 days. So how many days are left in year? How many days left year 2026? So there is not 0026, 305 days left. So let's average between a month and 2 months. So 305 divided by 45. Let's see what that gets us here. We get, no, not 4. Why am I, I'll just do the math in my head. So let's say we get 7 launches. Okay, 6 to 7 launches this year. Let's assume an average of 6 satellites on the low end, really. I think once Blue Origin is on scale, it will definitely be closer to 8. So I'll say 7. So we do 6 times 7. I keep saying 6, 7. You guys are gonna get annoyed here. So that gets us to 42 satellites on top of the already 6, bringing us to 48 by the end of the year. And that is my realistic, at least, prediction. I think 48 satellites. Mark this down in your calendars. If I'm wrong, you guys can come with pitchforks to my house, and I will definitely be a little bit scared. But do you foresee ASTS adopting the shave for truer thought process? Let me look. I honestly don't know what that is. Let me look that up real quick, and then I'll let you know. So like a conservative, cash preserving, execution first capital strategy instead of aggressive forward projections. So with the way ASTS is moving, I think that this philosophy kind of emphasizes capital discipline, monetizing the early capacity, and reducing binary risk. But I think that this doesn't align closely with ASTS. I think that ASTS is a very ambitious company, and I think that they are going to aim for this 200 satellites in the future, and that is aggressive from an infrastructure standpoint. But I think that the framing here is that ASTS appears to me to be blending this with staged monetization, and they're not retreating from scale. They are really growing their revenue in a way that reduces near-term execution risk, and I think that there will be a chance that this stock will continue to grow. And I don't think that there's parts of this that make sense to me, but I don't think fully. Let's hope New Glenn can launch smoothly. With the tests that they have done, it looks good. So I hope launch cadence is good from now. We seem well positioned. I agree completely. Are you going to hold your 8K for dividends or cash out at a target price? For me personally, I plan to probably hold at least like 5,000 of the shares just for dividends for the rest of my life, and then I'll probably sell like 3,000 and just move out back to the homeland, back to Europe, because that's where my family's from. I have passports there and everything, so that's probably where I'll go. So no chance they can launch on that cadence. I'd be shocked if they even shipped 30 this year. That would go completely against what they said inside the slide deck. I really do not believe you're correct on that. As much as I'd like to, I'm always open to hear bear cases. I'm always ready to argue with people, but I don't see where you're coming from with that. I do think that they are on stage to really get this ramped up here, and it is just a matter of getting the launch vehicles. And with Blue Origin finally on launch, and as we see, Abel and Jeff Bezos are pretty much best friends. So I think that this is a very good situation to be in, especially for the company itself, as well as for the company as well as the stock. So visit me in Ireland and we can park our Lambo together, bro. Oh, that's actually funny. My buddy lives in Ireland, near Dublin. So if you're out near that way and you message me on Twitter or anything, I'll definitely reach out to you. I know you told me to play your song. I'll play it right now. Let me see. I'm actually excited. This better be a good song. We love the risk. I do love the risk too. I'm gonna get copyright striked. Okay, I like this. I mean, oh, this is nice. I do like the dubstep type of music as well. That's going into my playlist, man. I'm gonna be listening to this at the gym. We love the risk, guys. We love the risk. If you held through earnings, you love the risk. If you're going to continue to hold, you love the risk. Don't lie to yourself. I'm going to listen to the rest of that off stream. If anyone has any more questions, I really appreciate you guys hanging out. It was super nice to talk with all you guys. I'm probably going to eat dinner now. It's 6:30 where I am. I don't know where you guys are in the world. It's probably late if you're in Europe. If you're anywhere else in the world. I don't want to waste too much of your guys' time. I try to keep these a little conciser. Listen to it every day. Words could only be written by a space mobster. I really do like that song too. The beat is beautiful. The beat's beautiful. I do like the techno vibe. I like listening to that in the gym. If you've ever listened to like hardstyle, kind of reminds me of that, but a little bit softer. If you hold through wars, you love the risk. Hey, everyone here loves the risk. If you guys want, check out that song. It's called "We Love the Risk" by Craigers. Here it is. Wait, let me pull it up. "We Love the Risk" by Craigers. Make sure you guys check that out if you guys like that song. Beautiful ASTS song. Cheers for the stream. Good night, guys. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your guys' night. Thank you guys for hanging out. Be safe. Be kind to one another. Take care.